You're listening to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast, the show that proves no one stumbles upon success ever. With your host, Lou Need. Every Mondays and Thursdays, we deliver cold hard evidence behind the power of a robust morning routine. Get ready to be transformed by the renewal of your mind.
Hello, morning enthusiasts. Welcome to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast. I am your host, Looney Lewis, and today it's an honor, a privilege to have a fellow here with me on the show, James William. Back in 2015, he was in the tail end of a 12-year career that wasn't bringing him joy or bringing out the best in him. And so he chose to make a change and to go against the grain of what he was thought was possible. He left his old life behind to join his wife to do an online business while he was training himself to be a coach. Now, a year later, precisely in 2016, he left his career behind and he got certified as a high performance coach. And today, he is, as a performance breakthrough coach and a speaker, he is truly living his purpose. So today we're going to dive into what it's like the journey is like to find your purpose and what you got to do to attain it and keep it and stay bubbly and happy in that space. And so it's no further ado. James, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
It is my honor. Thank you for the time and the opportunity. I'm looking forward to diving in. Let's start. I would love for you to tell us about a little bit more about your background. I just introduced you, but tell us about your why and your journey thus far to where you are, 12-year career. What were you doing? What was so unfulfilling about it? And what changes had to be made for you?
Yeah, well, I guess we could start almost earlier. At school growing up, I was always a very bright, very sociable guy, but sometimes it succeeded, sometimes I didn't. And I didn't really have my flow, and what I ended up gaining a lot of respect from people by being of service, right? Because as a very young child, academics wasn't necessarily my thing. The school system, didn't really work for me. And then I thrived outside of school because I think when I was, left to my own devices, I could be very, very successful. I had a mother who had some health problems and a father who didn't like his career. Mm-hmm. And, I, from a very early age, thought to myself, I don't want to just do a job for the sake of doing a job. I want to do something that lights me up, but I didn't know what that was. And growing up in the UK, coaching, personal development certainly wasn't something I thought I could really do as a career, but I loved television. I loved people. And so after uni and after traveling, I got a job in television, working in graphics and production. It was live TV. It was really fun and exciting. For an extrovert like myself, it was a really great environment, but it was still not quite getting the best of me. So what I did, I ended up getting very extrinsically motivated. I was looking for, ways to get pleasure outside of me. So how much can I earn more money? Can I get praise for doing a better job? Can I, get another promotion? And so I was constantly challenging myself to try and gain some kind of self-worth, but it was all extrinsic. And then it kind of dawned on me, this was even before I met my wife, that the only way I was really ever going to be happy was to listen to myself. What was it that was going to make me proud of me, not make others necessarily proud of me? And that sort of led me in this journey of trying to figure out, okay, what do I really enjoy? What lights me up? And ultimately, I realized it was people, of being of service of some way. And the first route for me for that was reaching out to my old university professor. And I'd go in and I used to do talks for the students and talk to them about life after university. And I really enjoyed that. I used to go back a few times and almost mentor these kids. And it was so fun for me, but I didn't know if there was a career in that. So I stuck with it. I was in television for 12 years. And then I met my wife, who definitely was the catalyst because she grew up in a very entrepreneurial family and she had this mindset, or still does, this mindset of anything is possible. And, I don't care if it's in the scope of reality right now, we're going to make it happen. Yeah. And I loved that. And that's why I fell in love with her. And it was through her starting her business and me helping her out that I kind of fell in love with this idea of personal development and coaching and mentoring. And so long story short, I dove into that while still at work. And then as you described, I realized that even though I didn't know the how, the logistics of exactly how this was going to be a career financially, I knew that it was exciting to me. And I knew that if I was excited and passionate about anything, I would work harder at that thing than anything I would ever do. And ultimately, looking back and seeing how, my dad was in something he didn't enjoy at the beginning and my mum had some health issues, I thought, you know what, there's something in business and entrepreneurship that really needs some attention. And that is that there are so many people with great ideas, a great drive, a great passion to want to be able to succeed in something, but they don't have the energy. They don't have the courage. They're not really clear about who it is they want to be. And they certainly don't feel like they can master time enough to make it happen. And I thought, well, that's the problem I want to solve. I want to be the person that can strategically support people in making whatever they believe to be their purpose, their passion, come true by figuring out how they can be the best version of themselves and make anything happen. And that's really what I went into. I left my career of 12 years, started working with my wife, started coaching her clients, and then, certifying a few different modalities of high performance, and ended up where I am now, all those years later, working with leaders and CEOs and business owners so that they can not only be very successful in their careers, but be successful partners, be successful parents, and live a life of purpose and passion.
Right. To open that up, you talked about the intrinsic versus the extrinsic motivation. That is huge, especially if you find yourself in a career where you need validation or the structure of the corporation, right? You need to be a manager. You need to always be climbing up this ladder. And to do that, you have to be recognized. People have to see you. People have to acknowledge you and actually help you move up that ladder. But as you found it, that wasn't enough. Tell us about the crucial part of listening to yourself, as you put it. You had to start listening to yourself and start asking yourself the hard questions so that you develop that courage to step away.
Yeah, well, I think you lose yourself a little bit because you're trying to find out what hat to put on to please everyone else.
Yeah.
And you lose yourself. And that's where that extrinsic motivation was, me looking for self-worth from the outside. And after years of doing that, I felt like I kind of lost myself a little bit. And then I took responsibility. Yeah. And I realized that there was nothing wrong with that workplace. It wasn't them. It wasn't the workplace. It was me. I didn't fit into that. I was trying on all these hats except my own.
Right. Oh, that's
And when
powerful.
I finally tried on my own hat and I realized, wait a minute, this is me. And I'm going for things that I don't really want to do.
Yeah.
And I started seeing these young kids coming up straight out of uni. I'd been there for, 10 years at that point, seeing kids coming out of uni, working so hard. They were so passionate about what they were doing. And I was looking at them and I was thinking, I'm not as passionate as they are about this thing.
Yeah.
It's not a skill thing. It's not a work ethic thing. It's just, this isn't what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I was actually okay with that. I realized, so there's nothing wrong with me. I'm not ungrateful. I'm just, this chapter is just at its end and it's time for a new chapter. And I didn't need to know exactly how at that point. All I knew is I started to identify the feeling of purpose.
Yeah.
That when I was walking and moving and expressing in a certain way, it felt in integrity. It felt congruent. It felt in alignment with the best version of me. And I knew that the best version of me would be able to figure it out.
Yeah. It's encouraged to hear you say that. Yeah, it's not me. There's nothing wrong with me. And so therefore it's just finding out what the right alignment is. And that's essentially what you do with your the clients that you work with. A big part of it must be psychology, right, James?
Oh, like 80%, if not more.
80% is psychology.
This is running the ship. The way I describe it to a lot of my clients is the business of you. So if you can imagine you as a business, and like in any business, we have profit and loss and we have SOPs, which might be habits, right? All of those things are run by the decision-making machine up here. And human beings, we're funny creatures. We're thinking subconsciously, right? And subconsciously means that we are running off of thoughts and programming that's already in there. We're making decisions based on things that have already happened and belief systems that we've already decided upon. And so to change that means learning what it is to be conscious, to be present, which in society of mobile phones, cell phones and computers and media and TV and Netflix and cat videos, right? We're not conscious a lot of the time. We're living in the future or we're living in the past, you know? And so I think that it's very, very important to recognize that awareness, self-awareness is the stepping point, right? That's the first place we've got to go. It's just unapologetically, with compassion, recognize, where am I unconsciously incompetent right now?
Mm-hmm. How do you get there? How do you get awareness? Because that's pivotal. Because you are right. We operate 95% of the time during the day out of the subconscious mind.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you know what? I actually developed a technique for myself. I'll tell you about it in a second. And I used to use that technique to teach myself to be present, because I recognized that I was years of trying to impress everyone else. I'm looking ahead to the future. What can I do then? And I was in the present. And if you think about it, the only time that actually exists is now.
That's true.
Not tomorrow, not yesterday, now. So the only time I can make a decision is now. The only time I can take action is now. And the only time I can actually think about the truth of what exists for me, how I feel, and my reality is now. So learning to be present is the first step. And the construct that I put together for this was just to imagine that in your mind, you have 3 rooms. There's the past habitual library, which is everything you've ever done and thought. It's where you stack all of your competence and your confidence and your self-worth and your challenges and everything that's ever happened. There's the future creative workshop, which is everything that you plan to do and all the things in the future. Of course, these 2 rooms are void of time. They don't exist. So you spend too much time in the past and you can be quite, stoic and depressed, or feel like you're not going anywhere. If you spend too much time in the future, you can get anxious and impatient and frustrated that things aren't happening yet. The 3rd room is the present room. And that's the only room that actually exists. And so by learning to shut the door to the past and the future, I learned to be in the present. And then I learned to ask myself questions like, well, how are you feeling in this space right now? Does it feel heavy? Does it feel light? Are you thirsty? Are you hungry? And by learning to connect with that person regularly, I could ask him, well, honestly, if you were doing this thing for the rest of your life, would that be exciting to you? How are you feeling right now? Right. And by connecting with that person regularly, I could pivot every single day. And I could think to myself, okay, well, what's important today? What can I do today to be the best version of me? Because if it ultimately comes down to cultivating that best person, because I know that he makes the best decisions, it means every day checking in with who I am, how I'm feeling, and is this person capable of making a responsive decision that's not negative, that's not blamey, that's not for the wrong reasons, but is from the best version of him.
Yeah, that is well put. How do you get that chatter to stop? How do you mentioned closing the door in the
Closing
room?
the doors. Yeah. I think it's really important. I mean, meditation is obviously a great tool, but if we think about what meditation isn't turning the voices off, because that in itself is a task, right? And it's a bit like trying to sleep. You can't try and do something that requires not trying, that requires relaxing. So, learning to not shut those voices off, but learning to allow them, but not paying attention to them.
I see.
Right. Allowing them, being compassionate and seeing them. And say, okay, there are voices saying things and they're okay. They're existing. I'm not going to attach to any of them. I'm going to focus on what's really here and really now. So for example, I'm in a room, I'm sat on a chair. I can feel the air conditioning. I'm talking to you, right? I'm wearing this shirt. These are all things that are here and now. And by focusing on those things, I'm not focusing on all those other random thoughts that are taking up time and energy and space in my head.
Yeah, I've read somewhere that there was a book, I think it's called Untethered Soul, that said, you are not your thoughts. You are not the thoughts. You are just observing them.
Yeah, it's a great book.
Yeah. You're just observing those thoughts. And so you're not attaching to them, just as you said. And so it's good to actually be here now. That's one thing I like to say to myself is be here now, be present, be in the moment. It's
a very calm, slow place just to be here and now. And it's a great exercise. In fact, one of the areas I go into, not only psychology, is the biology and physiology of that, because your brain when you learn to be present and you learn to meditate regularly, your brain actually changes and it learns to be more responsive and less reactive. You actually become better at focusing. If anyone's listening and finds themselves when they're working, their attention just suddenly diverts to random thoughts like, did I leave the gas on? What time have I got to do that thing? I've got to pick the kids up from school. That looseness of thought is just a lack of practice of presence. And when you practice presence, that in itself starts to diminish. Your brain gets very good at just being with the task at hand. So it's a bit like going to the gym, right? When you practice presence, it's a bit like doing push-ups. The more you do, the stronger you get, the better you get at doing those push-ups. And so the more you meditate, the more you practice presence, whatever it is you do, the easier it is to be in the moment and be present, which as a parent, as a leader, as a colleague, as a friend, makes you a better parent, colleague, leader, friend, because you become more engaged. You listen, you take information in better, you become more productive, you get more done in less time. I mean, the benefits are, endless.
It allows you to show up in your life.
It allows you to show up as the best version of you. Yeah.
Literally. So that's why it's encouraged, and we do it as part of our morning routine. Meditation is a big part to actually get the benefits you just listed. And there's so many more, because it allows you to be grounded, to be present, to be fully engaged in what we're doing in the moment. So I'm curious to know about your morning routine, James. How do you get up, dress up, and show up?
Yeah. Well, what I really believe with the morning routine is that it's less about what you do and more about the intention behind what you do. Because I find a lot of people have a list of things they've read that they do and they tick them off, and it's very intellectual. And I journal, or I read, or I sit down with my eyes closed listening to, pipe music, and it doesn't work for me, James. So I always say to people, and the same as what I do, is I wake up with an intention of how I want to feel before I start my day. And that starts with an awareness of how I do feel. Yeah. So I wake up and I sit there and I don't touch any phones or computers or TVs or anything that is about anyone else other than myself. Right? I do not touch them. So the first part of the day is just about me. How do I feel? I've been lying down for 8-9 hours. So am I thirsty? Am I stiff? Is my brain racing? What is going on right now? So awareness. And then I address all of those things. So I get up, I hydrate. First thing I do is I hydrate. After I do some funny things like tongue scraping and oil pulling in my mouth, all sorts of weird things like that.
Do you use coconut oil for the tongue pulling?
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
same here.
Coconut oil, and scrape my tongue. And then, of course, I hydrate. And then I will sort of move and stretch. I don't stretch too much until I'm warmed up. I just move and stretch a little bit, hydrate some more, say good morning to my wife in the morning. We spend a bit of time together. And then I will I'll make myself a drink, and I have my empty stomach supplements that I have, and then I'll sit down and read for a little bit, something inspiring but calm, nothing too heavy, and then I will work out, warm up, work out, sweat, then I'll stretch, and then I go and have a shower. Then I sort of set my intentions for the day. What do I need to accomplish today? What's going to happen? So then I'm getting my brain into doing mode, right? I've warmed up the brain slowly. The body's feeling good. I'm hydrated. I'm exercised. I'm inspired. Now it's like work mode. So, okay, what do I want to achieve today? What's on the calendar? Let's get that clear. And then I start my day.
Yeah.
And then from that point on, it's about energy maintenance and momentum. So I'm constantly breaking the cycle, and I'm not going to stay sat down for too long. So I'm standing up regularly and moving, stretching, hydrating regularly.
Yeah.
Never getting myself in a position where I'm going to be fatigued by work. So I maintain that momentum by checking in every single hour, moving, standing, hydrating, getting outside, moving my eyes away from the screen to the point where I'm winding it back down for the evening.
Yeah. How long does your morning routine take?
I would say, so I'm up at 6 a.m. and by the time I'm sat down at my desk is normally 8:30. I mean, it's different. It depends on certain things. Like some workouts in the morning are longer than others. Some are more intense than others. Some days I won't do a proper workout. It'll be just like a little bike ride and a little bit of yoga. So that'll be a shorter day. It depends on calls, but maybe a couple of hours basically.
Yeah, that is true, because it doesn't have to be 3-4 hours long. It can be anything from half hour to an hour, whatever your body needs, and actually being intentional, as you say, listening in to what is it you need
It's so important. Like, don't get your head wrapped around specific routines. Just listen to your body first, right? What do you need? You're thirsty. Do you really need to look at your email when you've just got up and your brain's not really switched on yet? So just be intentional and make sure you're making decisions from the present and not from the
future or the past. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Being intentional, because once you get on your phone, emails, text, or social media, you've given your agenda to other people.
Exactly.
It's no longer yours. You don't own it anymore. You are off to the races. Not
exactly.
prepared.
Yeah. Respect your time.
Yeah. Ill-equipped for the races. It's the worst mistake. Now, what are some non-negotiables for you? Because I know for me, it's meditation and exercising. If I don't exercise, then my day is lethargic. I'm slower. And again, those thoughts you were talking about, it's like popcorn in my head. But I find if I meditate and exercise, then I'm ready to take on the day. What are some non-negotiables for you?
Very, very similar. I mean, it's non-negotiable to start my day slow. Mm-hmm. That's really, really important to me. It's non-negotiable to get outside every day, even if it's just for a little short period of time. It's non-negotiable to eat well, to hydrate. And it's non-negotiable to not allow my phone or my devices make my decisions for me, right? Yeah. So I'm not going to have my phone on in the morning. I'm not going to have my phone on 2 hours before I go to bed.
Yeah. So that means you're waking up without an alarm then, or your body's naturally waking you up.
Yeah, my body naturally wakes. I mean, I do set an alarm, but I don't ever use it. I just set it just in case, but I don't. 7 days a week, I'm up, go to bed and get up at exactly the same time. So my body's used to that now.
Morning routine starts the night before. What time are you going to bed?
Like 9:30.
Okay.
9:30, 10 o'clock, yeah.
Yeah, that's rare. You need to hear that. You're getting full 7-8 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. No wonder you're waking up refreshed. Ready to go. That's really a good thing, because you got to prepare the night before for the next morning. So I'm really glad you shared that. Now, how does that tie into finding your purpose? Now you do it, it's seamless, but how can that be incorporated with someone, with the individuals you do coach, in finding the right career, finding the purpose? How does, say, those habits contribute to that success?
Yeah, well, let's first think about the idea of purpose, because I think a lot of people don't know what that is.
Yeah.
People get confused between purpose and goal. Right. So like a specific career, I don't believe is the purpose. It may be the vehicle for the purpose, but someone's purpose is much deeper than that. And we can, I believe for me, I'm always finding, extra highlights for what my purpose is. But ultimately, my purpose, when you're in it, you can feel it. When it's like your lane, when you're off your lane and things just don't feel right. Through millions of personality tests and studies on myself to try and really figure myself out and undo some of the programming that was in there from a young age. I think that when we're very, very young, if you really watch children and listen and think about yourself when you were a kid, you knew what your purpose was then. You may not have been able to put it into words, but you were living authentically when you were a kid. Yep. And then we get the Kool-Aid from the world and we get told who we should be and the way we should think, and it gets a bit muddled. So for me, staying in alignment with my purpose is, again, being present and just paying attention to what feels out of incongruent. So for example, I already do the thing I love, right? I study human performance. I work with people who care deeply about what they're creating and care deeply about being able to create it. So my purpose is helping people figure out the recipe to the best version of them and how to maintain it, right? That's me exercising my purpose as a coach.
Yeah.
Now, remaining in purpose for me means that I don't necessarily have to do things the way everyone else does them. So for me, for example, I don't want to spend that much time behind a computer desk. I don't want to spend that much time, marketing virtually online. I do some networking online, but minimal. You won't see a ton of people following me on Instagram because I don't spend a lot of time marketing that, because that's not in alignment for me. I will get and meet people as much as I can. Obviously, pandemic year was different for me, but luckily I've got a big community. So I've still managed to have a lot of Zoom calls. But I will speak to people like this virtually or in person as much as I can. because for me, it's a much more in alignment with me exercising my purpose, because no matter how good you can be at writing copy and putting photos up, no one can really be who they are unless you're talking to them or express who they are and find the value. So like, even as a coach, I would prefer to see the person that I'm having a conversation with to really see what's going on, because when they're not speaking, I can read them like a book. So even the way I run my business has to be in alignment with the way that feels, in alignment with my purpose. And even if it's something that no one's ever done before, if it feels in alignment, I will do it that way and I'll be successful at it because I feel passionately about doing it that way. My wife runs very differently to me, right? We do very similar work, but we're very, very different. And so we'll get the same kind of results in very, very different ways because we're very in alignment with how we do things, which is in alignment with our purpose. And when I say that, I mean being purposeful and being authentic with the way that you move and the way that you express. Does that make sense?
Yeah, a lot of sense. The way you were designed, right? The way you were created, exactly. Using those gifts and those talents in the way only you can. Right?
Exactly.
Because it's going to be different, as you say, even with your wife, similar business, but you're getting same results, but going about it differently. And I like that you express the need to actually do it differently. It's okay to do it differently. It's okay to hate marketing if that's the case, then focus on the networking elsewhere. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, we do have like young entrepreneurs that listen, that feel that they have to model the people they admire and do it exactly the way they did it because they're getting the result, and they're not.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would never use the word hate for anything, but it's like there is a use for everything. I mean, I think that it's very useful to get curious. How did they do that? And I want to do that. And until you have the answers for yourself about what feels good to you, it's really useful to remain curious. And then you can pivot and move. I think it's really interesting to try all the ways before, to really decide whether that's what you want to do or not. And really, especially at the beginning, be careful to judge it as, I don't want to do it like that because it doesn't feel right. Because sometimes that's just fear of taking action. Yeah. Fear of, I've got to get on Facebook Live, or fear of I've got to jump on a phone, or fear of, or what if I make a spelling mistake on my marketing copy? We've got to be, I think at the very beginning when it's brand new, be very careful to judge too early what is your path until you've tried a lot of things. I would say that. I certainly have. And I think that's what really helps you. I think that, again, going back to the business of you, in any business, metrics are gained by trying something 100%. And so in my life, I'm willing to get down and dirty and try all the things to figure out what I don't feel in alignment with and what I do. I think it's very hard to really know yourself and what is in alignment until you've taken the odd wrong turn. If it's not messy, it's not progress. I think, and I think that's really, really true. For those listening that are young entrepreneurs and it feels hard and messy, if it's hard and messy, you're doing it right. Because life is hard and messy, right? And that's meant to be. Every living thing on this planet has grown through adversity, not through comfort.
Yeah. You got to try it to see what works and to see what is in alignment with you, but you can't knock it off before you even give it a shot. Well put. Exactly. Well put, James. Tell us, how can we connect with you? How can we find you?
You can find me on my website. It's thegrowthedge.com. So you can find everything on there. That's easiest. But I'm on Instagram, James R.S. Williams. I'm on LinkedIn, James R.S. Williams. Facebook, James R.S. Williams. So I'm all around. You can hit me up, say hi. If you go to thegrowthedge.com/download, there's some free stuff you can download there and check out. So yeah, say hi.
Excellent. Yeah, will do. This is great because high performance starts with finding your purpose and knowing who you are and what you're good at so that you can thrive in it. So I really am grateful that you came on today, James, to share with us about the power of habits, the power of how to even attain being a high performer and finding your purpose. It's been a delight. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure.
All right, morning enthusiasts, that's it for today's show. Thank you for tuning in. If you love the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast, we'd love to hear from you. So go ahead and subscribe, rate, and give a review on iTunes or Google Play. While you're at it, tell a friend about the show. Be sure to visit bestmorningroutineever.com and our Facebook group to join the conversation at access the show notes and discover our fantastic free bonus content. Until next time,